Hey everybody, we're just having some technical issues for a second. We'll be starting any minute now.
Hello.
Hey there. Is there still like noise coming out of my feed? Because I'm not able to hear it.
I think it's clean
Maybe
now,
my computer
from
failed.
what I can see.
Yeah, cool. I
Yeah.
I just think my gain was like all the way up. So I had a thought like we should each come up with an intro theme for this stream, just straight off the bat. I have my base here. Like no planning. So this is my theme for the holiday stream giveaway thing. That's it. I think it's pretty good. I mean, I don't know what you think, but for something just off the top of the dome, it's now you go.
I don't know if I can even
I,
compete
w-
with
I,
that.
w- I wish we could jam together over it, but
Right, but
are you
the
are you are
latency
you
is.
set up? Oh,
Yeah, let's. Can you hear some sounds from me?
no, that's a pretty yeah, that's a pretty cool sound
Okay.
actually.
Yeah, it's a random sound, so let's see what my intro theme is gonna sound like.
First of all, bravo, and it's so much better than mine. I'm I really should have prepared. I really should have prepared. Yeah,
It's called random chords with a random sound from Ableton Live or something.
interesting, interesting. That's
Yeah,
one of those titles that really makes you think. Reminds me of my childhood and the holiday spirit and everything. So
exactly. And
yeah,
I
we're
just
here,
want to say
man.
hi first of all to a bunch of people in the chat. I see Old Romans here. I see Chase Brace, Ben Collar, Adir Sub. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing all these nicknames correctly. Nico Five. I see that everybody here noticing guys. I see Nico. Notice your Mayona space. Is
Oh,
this the Mayona
it's
space?
actually a dingwall. No, it's a dingwall. The Mayonis
Dingle.
is behind me in the case. I have three of them actually. I have the fretless is out here. So if anybody's interested in bases, I have like something like 10 bases around me in different positions in the room. So I'll try and show them if you guys are into it. Um, but yeah, so we decided to do this live stream basically to kind of you know get in touch with you guys and hopefully spread some holiday cheer and copies of Beat Scholar around. We have this link prepared where you can participate in the giveaway. You can we'll probably mention it more than a couple of times during the stream, but you can just click the link in the description of this video, enter your email, and by that you're also like subscribing to our wonderful website and newsletter, and you're good to go. We'll select winners at some point, I guess. I think that covers just about everything. And I have a noob question. Like, where do you see this chat in the restream? I know that's not a very interesting thing for our audience. But
yeah. So in this place where you click destinations, this is like our
gotcha.
internal
Yeah,
monitor thing. So you just click
got it.
chat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
All right.
hi Mitchell, good to see you. And yeah,
What do you
it
mean by
looks like
this is
people.
real?
So yeah, so we thought that we'll come in, we'll just shoot the shit, and maybe show a couple of like cool Beat Scholar stuff for people who do not have it already or have not tried it. And talk about some fun stuff. We also have a couple of new plugins we're working on that are going to be rolled out in the next few weeks and month, I guess. So we're pretty excited about everything that's going on. We got Beast Scholar updates. We got a bunch of like new content that we've been working on in this the last month or so since we released the last update.
Yeah. So, well, there's several ways we can go about this. How about first of all, let's explain that we'll be answering questions throughout the stream. So you guys just post it in the chat, and that also kind of gives us fuel to kind of go go wild with answers and give like 15-minute answers. That's something we do really well. Um, and aside from that, I thought it would be cool to maybe take this opportunity to show some of our workflows with BeatScholar that maybe people aren't, users of BeatScholar, new and existing, aren't really aware of. Um, so I can show some stuff like my favorite ways to kind of work with it just to get things going. Maybe see if people are interested in asking some questions, or if if
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
saying
Uh,
anything new, maybe they'll scold me in the chat saying like you're boring us.
yeah, let's bring it on. And let me just before that, let's I want to answer a couple of things in the chat. So Ming Nut, hoping I'm pronouncing this correctly. Looks like you like our band RNL, and if you miss us, we probably need to release some of the stuff from the second album that we've recorded that nobody's heard. So we have
Yeah,
a few more materials recorded a few years ago that I think are the best RNL stuff, and hopefully maybe this year we'll find like good ways to release them. So hopefully you'll like those as well. I think it's the best RNL tracks ever recorded. Um,
yeah, it's interesting.
in
It's
that
it's kind
second
of
album.
the sorry. Yeah, there's so it's important also to state that Eyal is in LA at the moment, and I'm in Israel, so there's like a huge difference in time. So we might step over each other here and there, but we'll try to minimize that. But yeah, the band stuff, that like album we recorded, I guess it's like the epitome of our band in a sense. But then shortly after, like we kind of drifted apart from it, and it creates this. Sometimes if you're in on a roll doing something, and you kind of don't go through the final step, and we also see this in in product right now. If you don't go through the entire process, sometimes like the final step can take years or whatever, like because you don't exactly put a time frame on it. So at the moment it's kind of funny, we became one of those bands where people are like hey, where's the new music, and like we're sitting on top of the new music at the moment, and only looking for like a period of time where we have the clarity of mind to go ahead and release it.
Yeah, and by the way, I just want to say I see quite a lot of people already signing up to the giveaway. So you can just hit the link in the description wherever you're seeing this to sign up. The other thing I'm seeing is so old Romans here uh, ask for the play button to work independently of the DAW, which I think is a very interesting feature request, which we actually discussed quite a lot during the development. It's something we'd like to add. So let's be specific, I guess, about it. Let's do you want to or maybe show the how the play button works in the DAW, or do you have like just the standalone for now?
I have the standalone, but I can bring up a DAW. It doesn't matter. But let's just for the sake of the discussion, I'll just share Beats Caller. Just let me know that
Yeah,
you're seeing everything
yeah.
properly.
So here's
Um,
Beat Scholar. For those who don't know it, we'll talk about it quite a lot.
yeah. So what Old Romans was referring to is the fact that in the standalone version, naturally, if you press the play button here, the sequence starts, and I can do like kick snare. Everything's great. But if I were to open Beats Caller in the DAW, so this play button wouldn't start the sequence, and that is because Beats Caller is synced to your DAW timeline, and basically plays the bars that you see here according to the timeline in sequential order. So starting the sequence from Beats Caller meant that Beats Caller would start your entire DAW arrangement, right? Just so it's able to sync. In order to avoid that, we'd have to do like something that makes Beats Caller play out of sync. So that was the kind of discussion we were having. If maybe Beats Caller doesn't need a play button in the DAW or something like that. But the solution we came to is as Eyal stated, just to keep the play button here, and it's operational on standalone and within the DAW. You're basically required to start the sequence, the entire DAW arrangement, in order to listen to what you're doing. But you can also like loop a certain section in the DAW, and Beats Caller will loop accordingly. And yeah, just treat it like that. But also there's the flexibility you get from dragging MIDI out, like shift dragging from the pattern here. You can export a MIDI file and then just manipulate it in whatever way you want. So that gives some nice flexibility. Yeah, is there anything else, or I can just kind of riff about my favorite things here, my favorite workflows here. Let's see. If you can remote control some of the UI, for example, triggering some of the randomization commands would open up all kinds of generative music potential. We're also talking about that part a lot, especially in the context of live playing. We keep trying to come up with ways for our products, Beats Car and all future products, to basically be very legitimate for live use, and also be mappable to controllers, and maybe have even at some point really great integration with controllers.
Yeah. Wonder if I'm. Oh, here you go. Yeah, so yeah, and this is an interesting uh, topic of discussion. So, for example, when you're talking about like let's say just playing outside of the DAW, right? Like, let's say we wanted to have Beats Call have its own timeline, and we surprisingly we actually have that feature in the engine already, because that's how the standalone works. The standalone basically says, well, no DAW is giving me the tempo, so I'm just gonna set my own tempo. Um, and we can like it's really pretty quick. Like, it'll take me a few minutes to implement something that makes it free, but then we'd need to make decisions on how you get it back in sync. Like, when the DAW starts playing, maybe kind of bumps back into sync. Do you allow it to be free? Like, do you allow an instance of Beat Scholar to just play at another tempo completely from the host? Because we can allow that, but it would also create all these like confusions when you're using it. So we have to think of how we kind of get you back to reality from that let's call it experimental state that you could get to with this mode. Another thing that you might want to think about is, and that's a lot of how I use Beat Scholar actually. Let me share my screen for a second. Uh, okay, so I'm sharing my entire screen here because, so for example, I'll have my setup with this on it's Ableton Live, right? And I have Beat Scholar on as an instrument. But what I'll do sometimes is I'll have another instance of Beat Scholar, which will be the standalone. So I'll just say, okay, give me Beat Scholar in the standalone app, open in another window, right? And this is just outside of the DAW, where I will have full control of the tempo and I can try all kinds of like crazy things, right? And I'll try like weird time signatures, and I'll slice things to whatever, and maybe I'll use the randomizer, right, to try stuff and pick like the hi-hat presets and do something like this, or use the trappy hi-hats preset, right, and I'll be completely in free mode, right? And then when I want to embed this into like my project, then I can go in Ableton in the DAW, and I can just set a Beat Scholar channel that will be without the sequencer, just a sampler. So then I can just say, oh well, I like this. Let's just go here and drag the MIDI from here to here. Import the time signature. Sure. So and then that's how I kind of blend the two ways, because I can just I can be experimental on this end and free on the other end. Another thing I'm doing is you can save presets and they will show right up. So I can say, well, let's save a user preset and call it my amazing beat, right? And immediately when I go into the DAW instance of Beat Scholar, I was in the standalone before, right? It just shows up, right? I didn't have to like load and save. It immediately showed up in the menu. So that's also another way to get some sort of continuation between the two. So these are like just random, I guess, workflow things that I like to do.
That's cool. These are like workarounds basically for the. I mean, I see it as like the use case here would be auditioning. So you wanna listen to, like, to have a very quick way to listen to some idea in Beat Scholar without worrying about your DAW. So you want to kind of be able to control when you're playing in sync and when you're playing just something like playing around, let's call it. So
Right.
that's also an interesting thought for like a future update to consider, allowing a mode where you're like disconnected, and then having the DAW maybe like as soon as you play, press the play button with the DAW to have it snap back into sync or something of the sort. Because I do understand the need for people, like the need with something as experimental as Beat Scholar. People want to kind of disconnect for a second, maybe do something completely out of the box, and then kind of see how it fits back in without listening to the other tracks.
Yeah.
It's very interesting how there's like really fine detail in workflow, and because you could do that by soloing a track, right? You can solo the Beat Scholar track and do whatever you want and change the tempo with the DAW, but it's all a matter of where you keep your focus while you're working. So it's a really interesting point, actually.
Yeah, and so what we could do for now, I guess this would be, I guess the first step towards this is we could have a free mode in Beat Scholar that says, uh, be separate from the DAW, right? So you can just have another channel for these kind of auditioning, and then you can lock it back in whenever you want to. You can just hit lock or whatever, hit sync back. That should
Mm.
be pretty easy to do. Uh, the main thing we might want to think about is when you're in and this is the programmer me thinking on, right, but we have to think of the situation where you're in free mode but then you hit play. Is play auto syncing it back? Because if it's not, you might hear really weird polyrhythms of random tempo with another random tempo, or even the same
And no,
tempo but just another starting point of the, like, let's say,
right.
imagine you're at like the 70% through the first beat in your standalone, and
I'm
then you
I'm
hit play.
I'm staring at the comments, waiting for the guys to go like, "That's exactly what we want." We want to hear complete chaos. We want to watch the world burn rhythmically, I guess. Um, yeah, that's neat stuff. Um, so where do you want to go from here? Should we show some, like, as I said before, I have some stuff I want to show. I don't know if people really got into the randomizer yet, but it's funny because we're constantly in this loop of developing new features and working on new products, but we're also producing at this point in our company producing most of the content. So we keep switching seats between like developer, whatever, CFO, CEO, CTO, secretary, whatever, and then being like a user trying to create content with BeatScholar. And I recently made this short video using the randomizer, and I came across this basically really cool way to use it. That's maybe a little bit obvious, but I don't know why I haven't done it so far. So I'd love to show that.
Yeah.
So can I steal the screen if you
Yes.
don't mind? Just like, okay. So I'm also gonna kind of go through key commands because it's fun. It's BeatScholar has this entire list of key commands that makes everything very kind of streamlined. So I want to delete what I did, so I'm gonna press Shift and click the bar header here, and it just empties everything out. And let's just work with 2 lanes because why not? And I'm gonna create something cool in like really a few clicks. So let's select the kit. Um, yeah, let's do this one. Audition it for a second just to make sure. Yeah, that'll work. Cool. So go to randomizer. I'm gonna select in basic randomizers basic. Basic kick snare. This will basically trigger both kicks and snares at some order according to the settings here. And let's see what it does. Let's select. Let's do this. I don't even know. And okay, fairly convincing. Now this already is sort of happening for me, but what I wanted to show is this thing. So go to basic again and select basic hi-hat. Let's listen to what this is. So I have this very basic pattern going on, and you're noticing, I don't know if you're noticing, but I'm clicking the lane arrow here, so it's applying everything to the lane. Now, the interesting dynamic I want to show is between the lane arrow and then individual pizzas. What I did in the video was basically this process. I went through, several takes to get like the randomizer doing like the coolest thing I could I could make it do. And then I'm as soon as I have something basic, I'm kind of zooming in and then working on a per pizza or beat pizza thing. So going to glitchy trappy hats and then selecting just the third one to try and see some shape that's maybe interesting. So let's listen to this. So it's a kind of way of working that's very iteration based, and you start from something wide that's like the largest selections of patterns, so both kick and snare, and clicking the lane arrow. You could gets more interesting if you add some more bars. Let's empty everything out and do the same thing, but with 2 bars, so you'd get something like this. Let's up the trigger chance a bit just so it's more action filled. Yeah, this will probably be crazy. And basic hi-hat, do the same thing again. Click here, go back to basic, and then do changing speeds. And that's pretty cool. So starting off with big selections, zoning in on individual places where I want to make the beat more interesting, and then selecting kind of, using the randomizer presets to select more interesting variations on the instrument that I'm playing. You have everything here from the most like useful utilitarian stuff, and you can also get something like bussin' percussin and add a lane and just click here, and just good old fun. Um, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to show, because I think the randomizer has some hidden potential that I don't know if you guys have discovered yet. Um, let's see what's going on in the chat for a second. Eyal, are you still there? Uh,
Yes, yes. I was just putting it on mute to not interrupt this creative flow.
all right, cool. Yeah, that's basically what I wanted to show, and let's maybe take some questions from the chat. Yotam, hey brother, how are you? Good to see you on here. How about a mode triggering the plug using an audio track? We actually got that question before, I think, like side chaining it from audio somehow, where you can like use your guitar. I just know Yotam is a wonderful guitar player and a product manager at Waves. We both worked with him in the past, and yeah, there's something about that. Like people that play instruments want to use the instrument to do everything, so that's kind of an
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
thing.
And it's possible. Like the only thing to note about audio triggering things is there's unless you're using a modular control, like something that's like an LFO, that has very accurate, like a jump in the audio just where you want it. Then if you're using some regular audio, like a guitar, right, a guitar chord or something, then there'd be some latency because there's a little while until some sort of level picks up, right? Because otherwise, if you're it's just like a gate. If you're too sensitive, you'll you'll cause like some false triggering. You'll play, you'll touch your guitar and it will start triggering patterns. So you want to set some threshold so that you're only above a certain level, right? And that implies a little bit of a delay, which I guess is sometimes acceptable. But think about situations where you want to trigger like a beat to be like on the one, and you miss it, and the beat starts like a 16th after because you played like a strummed chord. So there's questions here about how to do this in a way that's accurate, right? And that would be actually performance capable. Because if you don't care about performance and you're saying, well, I'm just sitting making ideas now, I'd want to be able to trigger patterns, and I don't care that sometimes it will get triggered later, it will work, right? But we have to think of like what would be something that would actually be practical. Because I'm guessing people, like, I'm guessing, just knowing Yotam, by the way, he's a genius product manager from Waves, who worked with us uh, for quite a long time on different products over there, and he's also a very very good guitar player. And I'm guessing, you, I'm guessing he didn't ask it about like using a modular system, right? I have which I have one here. It's like um, where and that, by the way, worked really nicely, right? When I've had my I when I've had like this like uh drum sequencer that comes from modular send CV values, that worked really well with my experimental version of Beat Scholar because it was like super accurate. So you could make sure that whenever the one is, that's where your pattern is going to start. So this is an interesting question. It's something that we'll have to think of, like how to do where people will be able to use it like live and can trust that it will work in the speed that they want.
I know of some pedal actually that has a pretty interesting take on this, and I just don't remember the name. And so if any of you know what I'm talking about, put it in the comments. But I just recall a demo where the guy playing guitar was strumming the bass strings and the top strings, and then the pedal like interpreted it into kick and snare. So
Right.
that way, it was like recording the input for a while and then doing some sort of analysis, I guess, based on frequencies and or something, and then just applying the kick and snare in quantized values where he strummed the lower string or the upper string. I guess that sort of use case with Beat Scholar would be interesting, but it also relates to something even larger, which is inputting MIDI into Beat Scholar generally. Is something we've also gotten a lot, and it's an interesting
Hmm.
discussion because of how many placements we basically allow per beat. So if you know, we'd have to do some pretty strict quantization while you're inputting your audio in order for it to be like, you probably don't want it on the third, I don't know what to call it, like non-tuplet or a 12 division. You don't want it on the third. You meant to play on the one. So there's a lot of systems at play here that we'll have to kind of like, from the basic engine to the UI being very clear about like, I'm recording input right now, I'm interpreting the audio, and then to have feedback that it's happening correctly. It's a huge chunk of work that kind of spreads out into just about every aspect of Beat Scholar. And
Yeah,
there's a
and this
question.
is
I'm
actually
sorry to.
oh,
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, there's a. I just wanted to answer. Can you randomize the whole beat? Not yet, and we should really do that in some way. Like find a way.
yeah, because now the randomizer works with lane. Like you can take a preset and put it on the lane, but then if you want it, I mean, you could make the one lane be the entire beat if you write a linear beat. So that kind of works, right? We have presets for that. We can probably show them. Um, we have like the automatic Steve Gadd presets.
Right. We have the. It's called linear beat maker, and if you just click the lane, you'll get something like this. Yeah, and that would be a nice, like, if you wanted to randomize the whole beat, you'd have to do it additive at the moment. So that would, doing something like this, then adding a lane and going into percussive and then adding some, I don't know, soft cymbals. Yeah, and just whatever you want to hear would be best added in this way. Otherwise, like, my thought was originally that you'd have to pre-apply the randomizers per lane and then have the entire thing just rotate, just like every lane. It's like clicking, every lane with the same randomizer. It's not impossible, but this is just the workflow we've come to thus far.
Yeah, yeah. And I think this is something we could do. Like we can definitely do so that you kind of save a lane randomizer along with the lane, and then you can just globally say apply. Right, that should work. And the reason why it's important for us to keep this like lane configuration is in Beat Scholar, like you've seen, a lane can have many drums, so you want to make sure that you're not like putting the kick on the lane on one lane and then another kick on the other lane and another kick on the next lane, and you just get like this flood of kicks instead of like something that actually has a musical context where I don't know the bottom lane is snares and claps, and the bottom lane is hi hats and or something that makes sense.
Yeah, that's an important point. It's also something like a decision we made very early on that we always have to respect, is the fact that we're allowing different drums on every beat, because it creates this, like, the system that most drum sequencers are organized in with the one drum per lane creates this sort of order, and we broke this order, so we have to maintain it in like other ways. So we also want to do at some point locking a drum to a lane, and doing stuff like that lets you guys customize, basically customize the way you visualize music. So if there's one lane that's always the hi-hat in your eyes, we want you guys to be able to say the top lane is always the hi-hat. All No matter what decision I make, it remains on the same drum. Um, so yeah, there's a, I just, funny Easter egg for 1 second. I noticed sometimes I make presets that are like maybe late at night or I was drunk or something. So there's one called Russian Roulette, and it's a slicing preset that has like 1, 2, which are pretty boring slices, and then 45. So like, hey, I got it on the first take. Like you can click and get like, wow, I'm getting a lot of 45s actually. This yeah. Well, it's a very bad game of Russian roulette. It's like Russian roulette with 5 bullets. Yeah. Sorry about the sidetrack. I just thought it was a funny thing to show.
um, yeah, yeah, exactly. And these are, by the way, fascinating topics of conversation. Like, how do you, because randomizing in general is something that could be inspiring, but it could also like overwhelm you with information that you don't want, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of the other edge of this. So one of the design goals we had with the randomizer is we were trying to make that so that you can kind of control the randomizer and only focus on whatever these drums or these subdivisions or these, so that the randomization kind of will come out in the style that you would have written and not just like random. A lot is completely random, because a lot of times I find that a lot of randomizers in other drum machines, they just say, well, you want to randomize, so here's everything in 16th notes, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's very limiting. Like, it basically takes out just a very specific kind of music. And here with Beats Call, we wanted you to have to be exposed to all the different options that we give on the subdivisions and whatever polyrhythms and everything.
Yeah, and
Um,
there's the thing is like with us, we always try to make the how do I put this? We try to like build a translation mechanism between a musical conversation and then the technology. So let's like in step triggering, we noticed at a certain point that we should add something like spacing, which basically determines how long would the how long would it take for the next step to be triggered, because we were talking about hi-hat patterns in some genres, and it kept triggering too much or not enough just by trigger chance. So spacing was like brought up, talking about like what kind of music would people want to make with this. Okay, they want to do like trap hi-hats, and trap hi-hats have a certain language. They come at you at like certain groupings, and then they stop, and then they come again. So I guess like every concept that we were able to make that translation for will be added into the module. So it's also kind of an interesting thing. There's like a code question I see here, kind of half reading it.
Bring it on.
Yeah, I'll just I thought you were looking at it, so I'll just read it for you. So Bass Buster is asking, how long have you developed and afterwards programmed Beat Scholar? How did you come to programming audio code?
Okay, so can you turn off the screen sharing?
Yeah, of course. You can also like take it at any time if you want. So yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's good. And I think what we want is like the gallery. Oh, here it is. Okay. So yeah, so this is a very interesting question. So I've been doing audio programming for, I want to say now, around 7 years ish, or something like that. I got to it after, I guess, a long time where I was like kind of around people who program, and I was like helping people who program. I don't know, do like demo videos and stuff, and I was just I was just fascinated by it, uh, and then I decided that it was just time for me to learn it. I got to figure out how to do it myself. It was driving me crazy that at some point I've had this company that I started with a partner. It was back then, like 7 years ago, where we hired this programmer, and I was trying to like explain to him what to do, and it was driving me crazy that I do not have the option to do it myself, to like control how things work. Uh, and that was like a big I guess a big motivation for me to just sync my time and learn whatever C++ and all that uh, things that are required to make it work, so that I can make my own products and accomplish my own ideas, which I later did for Waves with Or, and later with like other companies. So it was like a process. Uh, so that's like my history with this. But Beat Scholar, so we so it was kind of or can probably share quite a lot about this. So we started the company, I guess, officially around like January or sorts. Like that was like the official time,
February.
but February or
Yeah.
something. But and what we did was we had like a long period of like just prototyping stuff, like doing Figma sketches and like running ideas, and a lot of our initial ideas, or maybe you have some of these, I don't know. Like we've had uh like a lot of our ideas were just like very abstract in the sense of like how would this rhythm be expressed in this way, and we tried all these different uh layouts until we found like a few that made we thought were making sense, where you can actually express deeper ideas. So that part took a while until we've had more of this concept figured out.
I have it open in the
And
background, so anytime you want, I can show it.
yeah, yeah, bring it on.
Oh, right now? Okay. One second. Um, so this is not as some of the stuff isn't as organized. Like if there's some UX people, like don't be mad at me. I'm basically not even a graphic designer. I'm just kind of a do whatever you need to do. So here you can see like it's called Beat Scholar Research, and it's kind of a documentation of our earliest conversations about how to come up with ways to represent rhythm. So we're both very visual oriented people. We're both like avid gamers, and we enjoy like kind of translating into. There's also like a bunch of. I also like writing text, but the first thing we do is to sketch stuff out, as you can see. So here you can see something interesting, which is basically representing numeric values with angles, and you can see all kinds of shapes. And so you can imagine the conversation was like, how do I show the number 10, in terms of rhythmic value? So we thought about showing angles. So a star would have 10, or a diamond would have 6, and this idea kind of fell flat pretty quick. And then I think that I drew something like this, and it really kind of sparked our interest. Just the idea, actually, even before the pizzas were cut, just having these kind of circles pop up, and we're looking at it, and there's something very clean. Generally, when I zoom out the conversation a bit, when I think about plugins or whatever it is I'm about to design, um, I kind of I try to imagine like something I call like an object of power, like something that would be coveted by the users, that the users would really like want to engage with all the time. And circles, as simplistic as it may sound, like when I showed Eyal these 4 circles, he said there's something to it, right? So the next logical step, I don't know if these work, but we made this. Let's see. I haven't touched these ever since we started development, so you'd have to pardon me if they're not operational. Fit the screen. So here you can see like 4 circles, and if I click one, it turns on and off. And I think that if I drag on it, it splits it. So yeah, okay, this is kind of crummy, but you got the idea. So this was like the earliest version that we came up with, and we're like, okay, this is a triplet, right? And you can add a lane. That's like a very early thought, right? Because we want to layer rhythms and stuff like that. So that was where I guess like maybe first couple of weeks or a month was just like iterating around the idea. And the wonderful thing about working with somebody like Eyal is the fact that while I was drawing this, almost as quickly as I could draw, he coded a prototype that actually played drums in this sense. And it was a pretty amazing day, as I recall it, where I was like showing him this kind of flow, and then by the end of the same day we were kind of messing around with adding circles and then clicking them and then making them eighth notes and stuff like that. So the next logical thing, we came to the conclusion that in this system, to show a beat like I showed before, you would need, I don't know, like 500 circles sometimes. So we started talking about economy in terms of the interface. So how could we pack information in a more efficient way? And then we came to this idea. I'm kind of taking shortcuts because there's a lot of there's like an entire month of talking each other's head off to come to the conclusion where a circle can be something that holds a lot of information in it, because it can hold geometrically, like the potential to hold a lot of shapes inside it, and divisions and different kinds of divisions. You can see some of the tests we had here on how to represent it. Fast forward quite a while, we're starting to get into like, okay, how will the app actually look? And this is like a sort of advanced wireframe. Sometimes that's a big no-no for designers, for UX guys. I know, like, you're supposed to stay with a very basic wireframe in the beginning, but I found that there's this thing called design thinking, which I guess I'm partially doing or something. Anyway, I want to sound like I'm an actual professional. That's not my thing. Um, so this is the next phase, which is a bit more designed. It's a bit more pronounced. You can actually see the idea we were talking about before about locking an instrument per lane. Like there's hi-hat, snares, and kicks. We still haven't figured out the. I think it was Eyal that brought up like, I want to place any drum anywhere, and I was like, this is outrageous. And we're kind of arguing about that for a while. It's like people would go insane, the computer will be set on fire, and then it took me like a couple of days to be like, okay, maybe you're right. Um, I want to take up too much time, but I thought it was just fun to show like how many different mindsets you go through when developing a product like this in the period of like I guess overall, with some detours, 6 months or so from February, and we were ready to release around around August, September. Products like you work on products until the last day. At least we work on products until the very last day, and then some. You can see all kinds of crazy ideas we had about how to represent objects here with concentric circles. There's even something pretty cool here that we this actually looks pretty nice. We tried to find color scales and then methods to show pitch on the drum, like concentric circles. And this is the starting point of our velocity system, which is like you do the fake three-dimensional thing with the shadows and placements. And then you have like outside sliders. And again, I drew this, and like 2 hours later, Eyal coded like a prototype, a really cool one. Um, yeah, so this is regarding the development question. So it took around 6 months in it. We had to figure out so many things. Like, it's hard to explain. We had to figure out what our company is about and what this product is about, and also deal with logistics and bureaucracy and everything in between. So if we started now, we'd probably do it in less time than that. But yeah, hope this was interesting for you guys.
uh, yeah. My chat got frozen for a bit, so maybe you can bring up
Sure,
whatever's in the
sure.
chat.
I just found out if you refresh Restream, it deletes the chat.
Yes, yes, I've suffered that.
Um,
By the way, just to remind everybody who's just joined or whatever, we have a giveaway of Beat Scholar. You can register by using the link wherever you're seeing the stream. I already see a bunch of people have registered, so that's gonna be if you register, you're gonna get into like this little lottery that we're gonna run right at the end of this stream. And you'll get the license by email if you want.
so, Baze Buster is saying pizza is also an important in your lives, I guess.
It's ridiculous because now I'm in California and they have so many variations of pizzas. It's so nice. You can get pizza with
Oh man.
cauliflower dough and add this. And it's so good. Um, yeah, but here's the interesting bit that I mean the pizzas, the circles, they look simple, but we've actually thought a lot of what does it mean to express things in them. And to me, one of the things I like about the display is the fact that you can have one linear row that will have all the drums in it, and you don't have to like open a ton of vertical space. Because that's my experience with most of drum machines. Like you want to have a tom fill, and you need like 6 channels for the drum fill, even though each one just has one drum in it, right? Right, something like that. Then you open like a million channels, and it's very hard to work with. And to me, it's very not musical. Like I like to be able to kind of stay in flow and have everything large and visible. So it was a decision. So we kept thinking about what does it mean to do this, right? Like what does it mean if you're writing this kind of a rhythm? What does it mean if you're writing a drum fill? Right. So it was uh and it actually spawned up a bunch of mini things that did not go into Beat Scholar just yet, but will probably go into uh the updates and our next product as well, because we have all these like scenarios that we've discussed about how to do XYZ. So I see a question here about the neural network stuff. uh I've not seen it, like this microtonic thing. Maybe can somebody explain to me more about what it does? I know you can definitely, like for example, you can definitely train. Sorry, if you're thinking about Beat Scholar or any other drum machine, you can definitely take the preset format of Beat Scholar and give it to some uh, to create patterns. The challenging part, I'm guessing, would be one, make sure you actually like the results, right? That it's not just random result, but it's something that's useful. Uh, and the other problem, I'm guessing, is to avoid something called overmatching, where, for example, you train Beat Scholar to get presets like I don't know, like J Dilla or something, and you train it to be J Dilla, and what ends up happening is that all the presets are sounding exactly like J Dilla, right? So it's not, so it sounds good like J Dilla, but it all sounds like J Dilla. So sometimes the question is it better um to get a data set where you train for that data set, or you do some hybrid where the data set is like a starting point, and then there's something for you to work with. Because I find that if something sounds too preset perfect, doesn't matter how it's made, then it puts me off because it's not the music that I want to do. It's like the preset, right? So if we'll go in this direction of doing something that has some sort of AI and generative and stuff like that, we'd still want to make sure that you feel like you're the creator, right? That the thing generated something for you, but you had the final say on every note and every stylistic decision. Because otherwise, I think it gets too far off. Like it sounds good, but it's not yours. At least that's my feeling with uh, generative things.
Yeah, I agree totally. Actually, with your point, I think this is really for people like us. This is the tipping point, like between. I'm enthusiastic about the potential, but like everything, like it's a matter of somebody understanding this point you're making and developing a tool that maintains the feeling of being like an artist and being like somebody that creates things and influences the process. So I don't mind, I don't mind like working with naturally like with a drum machine that that that's like several miles away from actually working with the drummer and talking to him and developing a relationship, right? I'm just recording drum files and then finding some cool way to place them on a grid. But then again, it's the same thing that I'm getting enough control to kind of feel like I have a relationship with the device. And when you get things that are like very kind of well done black box processes, you feel distant from it, and then you're kind of you either use it or you don't, but you don't. I don't feel like you can develop a relationship with it because it's kind of an maybe an too artsy thing to say. We're having like a tech discussion, but uh, I think you got to go through a sort of series of emotions. Sometimes for people, it's the same emotions in a row to really connect with something you're doing. So, for instance, I would play something on bass and then I would really be into it, and then I would question if it's boring, and then I might hate it for a second. And I'd have this series of feeling towards what I did, but then again, with the bass, I can affect everything to a really level of fine detail. So it's kind of the opposite of what's happening here, where you kind of say, like with the drawing, the all the AI that like Dolly and I don't remember the other one that you showed me on Discord.
Mid Journey.
You Mid Journey, yeah. So it's really cool, but at a certain point, I just stopped using it because of the same reason that I was like inputting something, and I didn't have the drive to be better at inputting a phrase into it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And, yeah, and I think people like because I took like I've had such a wild ride with Mid Journey. It kind of it was such a mind shifter uh, that. So here's the thing, I think Mid Journey like it's amazing because you learn how to input your feelings and get a result, right? You kind of learn how to improve in that, like you get more specific. But if you show Mid Journey to somebody who paints, who draws, right, they do not see the advantage of this because they say, well, it looks good, but can you tell it make this less green or make this less deep or make this right? Because that's how they work, right? They say, well, I'm gonna iterate on this like on the shape of the face of somebody until it looks like the shape that I want, right? So it's I feel like for if you're if you're somebody who needs like a photo and you use Midjourney AI, it's different from somebody who makes drawings, right? As a hobby or as a profession or something, because
Yeah.
it's not exactly the two things don't exactly fill the same purpose. So I what I'm looking for, I guess, with AI stuff is how we can find this road where a musician will actually say, I want to use this, like it will make my life better, it will make my everyday conversation with music better. um and I think that's the bit about it that I think people in the tech world are missing, because they see it from the viewpoint of some ad agency that needs a photo, and not from the purpose of an artist, right? Because an artist needs to be involved in the art. It's not just about and like an ad agency that they just need music or art for their art, and so they want a result and they don't care like how good it is or how fine tuned it is. But we live in these like details, right? We live in like, is the string is the string of the guitar flat wound or round, right? We live in
Round.
this thing of like types of instruments, and like how do you which technique do you play to trigger the things, and what's the workflow in the program that will make you more creative. Like we live in like these resolutions, and not in the necessarily in the resolution of like the perfect music that comes out of the tool.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, but it also makes me think about it's sort of a cliche that I've been repeating for the past couple of years that I mean, we're the only people making the distinction between art and entertainment. So entertainment can be art and vice versa. I don't know really where the line goes, but a lot of people they don't know the difference between like quality music that's made by an artist and then something that's generated by an AI. And that's perfectly fine because of the role that music plays in their lives. So if I'm only listening to music on my way to work and it's on a low volume on the radio while I'm thinking about stuff, that's fine. The radio can play 24/7 AI generated music. Reminds me of that Rick and Morty bit where Jerry is in a simulation and he's only getting like 5% CPU from the simulation, and then he plays radio in the car, and it's just a series of beeps, and and the announcer goes, "Human music now playing human music," and he goes, "I like human music." So this is the kind of thing, like the point I'm making. So AI will make perfectly functional, amazing music for people that um for people that are fit to consume it. So if there's an AI generated pop star, which is great, and people dance to the music, that's fine because of the role the music plays in their life. That's also fine that we will, won't like it. But I have to say something about Eyal, especially that he's one of like most non-biased people that I know. So he can hold a very strong opinion, but then if an AI generates a piece of music that he loves, he would be the first to say, "I love this. This is amazing. This AI is a great musician." So that I'm right. Yeah,
Yeah,
you have to
and I
agree
think
about that.
an AI could be the most amazing musician, right? Like there's nothing technically that prevents it, but it's different. I think it's so hard to explain this to people who are not like musicians, artists, whatever. But there's nothing about what I do is about the quality of the music. It's about the quality of my inner process with the music, right? Like, I can listen to music. It's not like I'm listening to Spotify and and there's a lack of things to listen to, of like professionally grade things in the style that I like. Like I like classical music, and I will never in my lifetime be able to hear all the pieces by the all the good composers. Like it's not possible, right?
Yeah.
Like even if I just want to listen to like all the Bach pieces and all the Beethoven pieces, whatever, it's like pick a period, and I want to listen to a few performances. I'm gonna spend years. Like it's ridiculous. Like it's like so the quality of good music. It's not like I became a musician because I was thinking, oh well, there's not enough music in the world, so I need to type it up, right? It's more like,
Yeah.
well, there's something very specific that I want to be saying, right? That, by the way, might not be good, but it's what I want to be saying right then. Uh, and I want to be able to express it. And I think that's really, really different than interaction with an AI because we need to have the process of it to feel that we've made emotion. That's why, by the way, a lot of people to this day make art things that can be done perfectly with machines, right? Like people will say, "Well, I'm gonna make a statue that looks just like another statue," right? Or they'll play a song that somebody else wrote. They'll do a cover song, right? Because most people playing music do covers. They don't like write their own songs. uh, and it's much like it's not, but and you can tell them, well, you can just open Spotify and listen to the original song or to the 50,000 other covers that people did, right? But people say, well, right, but I want to be the person doing this. I want to be learning the positions on the guitar and learning to play in rhythm and giving a feel for this, right? That's my experience with most people playing music. It's uh just learning that path, right? And I'm saying, can an AI do that cover? Sure, but nobody cares. People will still learn guitar to do their own covers. They don't care that people did it better or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
AI
So sorry about
generated
the
music.
AI,
What is
right?
No, no, that's perfectly fine. It's some really great points you were making. Just the bass buster saying that AI generated music. What is it good for? Elevator. Um,
Elevator.
that's I think that's the ribbon on this topic. Yeah, elevators would be the beneficiary of AI generated music. That's for sure. Elevators, and it might replace all of jazz, but we'll see about that. um, so I was thinking we could kind of pivot towards maybe giving away some Beat Scholar licenses. I don't know if all of
Yeah,
them at the same time or just one or two or whatever. Um,
yeah. So let's see how this works. So first of all, we're gonna say before we do this, if you're watching this and you have not yet registered, the link is in the description of the video. Do it now because I'm about to figure out which button is needed to close the thing, and then it will be closed. So hit
yeah, so
hit the
we
click.
haven't done this before. We haven't done this before, so this would be our first giveaway. hopefully of many. And I just want to say we really appreciate like you guys is like a general term for everybody here and everybody that will ever listen to this. We're we're still a small operation, and it gives us all the hope and anticipation and energy in the world that you guys are here asking questions, kind of hanging out with us, joining our Discord channel, posting your music there. It really feels that since September we've been able to create this like small community of like super focused people that are enthusiastic about the same things that we are. It's just a great feeling, and it makes us happy. This is the emotional segment. Cue the violins. Uh,
And all right, so
I
while
just thought, yeah, go ahead.
oh, I see a question about. I guess this is a Project RNL question about. Are you still with the same vocalist? So maybe I'll. So our band, Project RNL. This is a band that Or and I have been to for quite a few years. So the second album was recorded with another vocalist. Who shall remain nameless until we actually put it out. But he is amazing, and I think whoever likes RNL music will be very happy once we release the second album. And also, whenever in the last few years, Or and I have been kind of playing with our own acoustic electronic band that we call Abstractions, which is us and Omri Abramov on iwi and saxophone, and we will alternate like different musicians and singers. So some of the performances were in Israel, where we played with somebody like Sharon Petrovel from RNL, and we've had a female singer, uh, Gal Levy, sing with us, and then uh, when we did some shows in Paris and Germany, we've played with Gadi Seri on percussion, and it was like instrumental, but with harmonizers doing the vocals. Where Omri and I would like do harmonizer vocals. So it's changing. It's a very
I guess we
dynamic
keep like
vibe.
yeah, we keep making it interesting for ourselves and kind of using what's around us and the people that are around us that we like at the moment. I mean, we like them more than that moment exactly, but you know what I mean. It's like Gadi was such a wonderful addition into our lives because I played with him. He's a brilliant percussionist and a drummer here in Israel. And as soon as we played a couple notes with him, we were like, "This is a completely new sound for like the music we've known for years." So it was very very exciting to be able to play with him, and hopefully we'll have some recordings with him sometimes in the future. So have you figured out
Okay,
the giveaway?
yes, let's announce the winners.
Okay.
Here we go.
Wait,
And
wait. Drum roll.
drum roll. Okay, so let's see how this thing works. So I think I can just draw 5 winners. So let's see. So I'm
Is it
gonna
like a cool
draw.
thing where you can share the screen and everybody would be like, does it shoot like confetti? And no.
Probably not. But hey, so I have
Oh,
the winners. The- I do. And it's nice because we have winners from multiple countries as well. Uh,
awesome.
so so our first winner, we just have a first name, but we have the email is Rebecca. So here's to
Hey,
Rebecca from the United States. Second winner, I hope I pronounce the name correctly. It's James McCauley.
way to go, James.
Yeah. Third winner, and my reading skills are really being challenged now. But it is, I think it's Federico Ruttenbach. I think I'm saying this correctly, from
There
Spain.
we go. Awesome.
Uh, we have Eoin Smith from Ireland and
Damn, we're
Michael
really
Dunn.
international.
Yeah, and Michael Dunn from the United States. So all these people won, and shortly, like in the next few minutes, we will send an email with the license information and everything, so you can enjoy your copy of Beat Scholar.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for signing up. This really gives me. I think we agree that we need to do more of these. It's was a really nice time for us to kind of hang out and talk. We only like now that Ayala is also in like a completely different time zone. I think this is the longest we've talked in several days. So this was pretty cool for us in some ways. Um, yeah, awesome. Any like are we finishing up? Because we announced the winners. I don't know if people will stay with us. Wait, Ming Nut is saying, "Boo! Oh well, might have to buy it." Um, might be a good opportunity to say that we're running a sale and it's 50% off until the end of
Right.
the month. Yeah, shameless plug, as they say.
All right, and again, feel free to contact us anytime. We're available on our Discord. Uh, you can find a link in our website or whatever, modalics.com. You can talk to us via email, which is info@modalics.com. Write to us on our Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, uh,
And one
TikTok. I
last,
don't know, some of those.
yeah, one last request. If you make anything with Beat Scholar, send it our way. There's nothing like we like more than listening to cool tracks you guys are using Beat Scholar with, and helps us also learn about what what the hell did we do. Yeah.
I think,
So thank you
and to
guys.
wrap
And
this up, I just wanted to wrap this up. Something I want to play. Like one of my favorite things that were done with Beat Scholar is
mm,
there's a video that our friend Alon Tamir from Project Ornell made, where he created this track, uh, which is from his solo album, but he adapted it in Beat Scholar, and it's like, just like if you like me, you like monster shredding on the guitar. Uh, it's pretty awesome. So I'm just gonna play it as we end this thing, and I guess that's it. Or do you want to say
do you
something
know how
for?
to head? Yeah, just that we should stay and try to headbang in quintuplets and
Here we
maybe
go.
get a chiropractor.
All right. Bye, everybody.
See ya.